The tales we love best have an uncanny method of sinking into our souls and remaining with us forevermore. However, imagine a scenario in which you were to discover that a portion of those very stories were just made conceivable politeness of some genuinely loathsome genuine functions. Peter Pan. The genuine motivation behind J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan is prepared to do truly wrecking childhoods. To discover the story's starting points, we should venture out back to Barrie's own youth when his sibling David kicked the bucket in a lamentable skating mishap at only 12 years of age. A few sources state 13 years old. Barrie's mom never completely recuperated from the loss of one of her youngsters and turned out to be generally disabled. In a strong offer to coax her out of her hermetic shell, Barrie would imitate his perished sibling. Harry Potter. Being set in a world brimming with wondrous sorcery and fantastical animals, you'd be excused for pondering Harry Potter is absolutely invented. They state, nonetheless, that you should expound on what you know, and creator J.K. Rowling has spoken authentically about her very own portion beneficial encounters which took care of into Harry's story. First, there are the Dementors, noxious creatures that devour the joy of people and leave their casualties with a sentiment of sadness and everlasting despondency. These manifestations were legitimately roused by Rowling's own battles with clinical sorrow. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was first written by Lewis Carroll over 150 years back. For all its suffering ubiquity and proceeded with social importance, be that as it may, the story has been tormented by gossipy tidbits about questionable beginnings. Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel is an ageless story conceived of misfortune. In the mid-1600s, Katharina Schraderin got acclaimed in her local Germany for her desirous preparing capacities, especially her pine for gingerbread treats. Her prosperity drew the consideration of individual pastry specialist Hans Metzler, who endeavored to charm Katharina in a determined offer to get to her plans. Room. This top-of-the-line book started an offering battle among distributors, a colossal development for the writer, basic recognition, and an honor-winning film transformation. Its strong story of a lady held hostage with her young child, who was brought up inside a solitary room, moved perusers and watchers the same. Accordingly, it appears to have all the parts important to become something of a cutting-edge exemplary. The Shining. The thought for Stephen King's notorious story of repulsiveness came to him in a bad dream during a stay at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. He consequently utilized the structure as the motivation for the setting of his anecdotal story of an essayist losing his mental stability. The Ugly Duckling. Hans Christian Andersen's suffering fantasy about a lamentable little feathered creature that experiences misuse and derision his peers until he blooms into a radiant swan has clear allegorical significance. An exemplary interpretation of the poverty to newfound wealth idea, it keeps on addressing crowds far and wide about refuting skeptics by defeating snags and making progress regardless of difficulty. Burial Rites. Hannah Kent's Burial Rites produced a ton of buzz in the audiomic world when it initially hit racks in 2013. In the wake of getting various prominent honors, it is expected to be adjusted for the big screen with entertainer existing apart from everything else, Jennifer Lawrence, taking on the lead job. The Gremlins. For some, Roald Dahl is a youth saint who wrote various notorious and much commended works of art, including Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Twits, and Matilda. In any case, it was his first story, The Gremlins, that discovered its causes voluntarily in administration as a pilot for the Royal Air Force. The Fault in Our Stars. John Green's The Fault in Our Stars became something of a worldwide marvel, selling a large number of duplicates and bringing forth a film form that was a film industry crush. The two variants of the deplorable story diminished numerous to tears as they saw the lives and loves of malignancy-stricken young people Hazel and Augustus play out.